Hello. Okay. So really quickly, it's a different day. We were able to we used the prompt to rewrite the first person story in third person. Now we're gonna read the first person story and then we're gonna read the third person story. I've already looked at both. I saw the video and I think it's pretty good. And so let's read it. So this is the first person story. There are two reasons I needed to get in my grandma's kitchen. One, to keep her recipes, two, to catch a man. When I was a little girl, my grandma's kitchen was this magical place, and it didn't matter whether it was your birthday or a holiday or just a regular old Sunday. She'd say, "Baby, what kind of cake do you want?" And I tell her, "Grandma, I want a chocolate cake." And then I run outside to play. I mean, I never actually stayed in the kitchen to see what she was doing there. I just figured she's probably clapping her hands like LeBron James in the middle of a basketball game, all flour and glitter, abracadabra hands. All I know is when I came inside from playing, there was a feast: fried chicken, collard greens, biscuits, and cake. And after the whole meal was over, my grandma would take that leftover fried chicken, set it over to the side. She'd take the cake, set it to the side, slice it, wrap each slice individually in wax paper, tape it closed, and then she'd grab an empty shoebox, line it with paper towels, half fried chicken, half chocolate cake, and each family got their own box to take home with. Maybe an hour into your journey in the car, on a bus, and train, you lift that lid of the box and feel like heaven was singing back to you, which is why, as a grown woman, I needed to return to my grandma's kitchen. My dating life, it wasn't going so well. Some of the old Southern women said, maybe it ain't going well because you can't cook, and I resent the implication. I could cook. I could make spaghetti and meatloaf and tuna fish. Is tuna fish cooking? I went to my grandma and I said, "Grandma, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I'm not good. I'm not going to get there like this. You need to teach me all the things you know." She clapped her hands like she does when she gets really excited. And then she looked at me real serious. And I knew we were about to get to work. First assignment, collard greens. I'm in there at my grandma's kitchen. We're hip to hip. There are no written recipes for any of this. So I'm just in there in the kitchen with her, trying to catch some tips and suggestions and take the best notes I can. We start with these big collard green leaves on a stem. Soak them in salt water. She takes them through each step of the process. How do you cut the leaves off the stem and roll them up just right? Cut them into 1 inch pieces so they have that perfect bite. We make my grandma's amazing collard greens. But now I got to go back to my first apartment kitchen with this faux granite countertops that I was really proud of and try to make these collard greens myself. So I do, and I put together a little tasting dish, take it back over to grandma. She tastes it and says, "Now, baby, I think you got the texture right, but it's a little salty." I go back over a period of weeks and I try this until I finally hand her that tasting dish. When it comes back to me, there are no collard greens left in it. She has no notes for me, which means I have graduated. I can move on to my next dish. I mean, I got a lot to learn. I got to make the mac and cheese and the candy yams, the cabbage, and the rutabaga. So just over a period of months until I finally learn all the dishes. Then I meet a man. Things get serious with him, and so I say it's time for me to make my grandma's food for him. I make him this meal, and several months later, he proposed to me, which means grandma's magic, it really does work. My boyfriend becomes my fiance, becomes my husband. We buy our first home, and my mother in law gives me the perfect symbol of a Southern woman's domesticity: the standing KitchenAid mixer. It doesn't matter if you use it, it's just supposed to sit there on your counter so other people can be jealous of you. But me, I wanted to use mine, so I called grandma and I said, "Grandma, I'm turning 35. This is what I want for my birthday. I want you to come to my house. Let's break open this KitchenAid mixer. Teach me how to bake your cakes. You taught me how to make everything except your cakes." She says, "Baby, let me check my schedule." Change the subject, hangs up the phone. I wait a week. I call back again. "Hey, grandma, I just wanted to touch base about this again because my birthday is coming up and I thought maybe you could come to my house. We could bake a cake together." She said, "Now, Mina, that was so long ago. I don't even know if I remember how to bake those cakes anymore." Changes the subject and hangs up the phone again. I wait 1 more week. I call back. "Grandma, hey, my birthday's coming up, like right here, and I thought we could come to an agreement about you coming to my house baking a cake." She says, "Mina, I gotta tell you something. Now I know you thought I was making those cakes from scratch, but mean I was. I was using a box mix. I don't know if you've ever heard the sound of your childhood deflating, but this is what it sounds like. Because no, not my grandma. My grandma has no use for cake mix. My grandma surely gets the eggs directly from the chickens. I mean, surely when my grandma needs flour, she threshes the wheat herself. No, my grandmother does not need a cake mix," she said. I don't even know if they make that mix I use anymore. Starts Googling small cake back mix North Carolina because that's where my grandma's from. I said, "Well, grandma, you don't even remember what it's called?" She said, "Well, baby, they call it Super Mall or Super Moy." I don't know if you have Southern grandparents, but when you do, sometimes they say things to you, and then the consonants disappear at the end of the things they say. And you're left there to decipher what is being said to you. And she keeps repeating it, and I don't understand what she's saying. And she says, "Baby, you don't understand me." I said, "Grandma, I don't know what you're talking about." She said, "Baby, you spell it. It's Supermoist. Supermoy." And I said, "Grandma, you think they don't make Betty Crocker Super Moist anymore?" I said, "Grandma, now I know you don't watch The Walking Dead, but if you do, you would know that when they go to the abandoned grocery store to get formula for that one baby, you know what's on the aisle, Grandma? Betty Crocker Super Moist. Grandma, did you know you could drive into rural America, pull up at any gas station, and you know what's going to be sitting in the aisle? Grandma, Betty Crocker Super Moist. We're never going to stop making it. It's going to survive the zombie apocalypse. Grandma, look, let's not worry about this. Can you just come to my house and bake a cake?" She agrees. We're back in the kitchen together, hip to hip. I tell her I want to make a pineapple cake. Fine, from scratch recipe, the closest to what I can think her cake would have tasted like. We get in the kitchen together. She starts remembering some things. I've got to gently take the cake layer out of the cake pan. How you got to poke holes in the middle layer so your pineapple sauce will soak through just right. She teaches me how to make an egg white frosting, and we do really delicious and really ugly cake. The ugly part was a me thing, not a her. I don't know how to frost a cake. Which is why when my grandma turned 85, all of us had to gather together, her kids, her grandkids, her grandkids. We all gathered together, big old beach house. Now, I'm the one in the family who cooks all the food, and she taught me how to make. So I slide up to her and say, "Grandma, what kind of cake do you want?" She said, "Now, baby, I want you to make a chocolate cake. I want a yellow cake with chocolate frosting." And I said, "You're going to get that cake. The cake is going to be super moist." Okay. I get in the kitchen. I cooked all the things. The cake is my last thing to. I mean, you should really watch the video of this. My reading of it does not do it justice. Like, the woman explains the story very well. It'll be in the description. And I am, as stirring up this box mix, I'm just thinking, I'm one of the older children. Maybe she started this cake mix thing for the younger kids, not for me. I bake that cake and take a little corner off to taste it. And yes, tastes exactly like my childhood. And she tells me an older woman in the church told her, "Use a cake mix, but make your frosting from scratch. That's how you fool them." And she did, the whole family of us. So after this meal, after we feast, we sit around soaking her in, asking her all the questions we think to ask. So I say, "Grandma, what was the deal with the shoebox and the fried chicken and the cake? Why'd you do that?" She said, "Oh, I did that because it was my parents did for me during segregation. In case we took a trip somewhere, there wasn't a safe place to stop. We made food to keep our family safe." She said, "I did it for my children during Jim Crow. In case we took a trip and there wasn't a safe place to stop, I made that food to keep our family safe." She said, "I did it for your grandchildren because I wanted you to get home safe too." And then I thought, there's my grandma making magic again, taking injustice, taking painful history, and pouring love in all the places she could get it. Which is why when it's time for my cousins to leave and they say they got to leave early, they got to head back to work. I mean, I got to keep the tradition going. I got to take that cake, slice it, wrap it, tape it closed. I got to hope that cake and wax paper can somehow be a prayer that my cousins will get home safe too. All of these years later, I still got my KitchenAid mixer. I'm still married to that man. We've been married for 14 years. My grandma's 93, and she's telling us what to do. And I'm always grateful to the grandma of Magic Kitchen. Betty Crocker Super Moist, thank you. Okay. It's just a lot of reading. And now we're going to read the. So, obviously, like, reading it, reading the transcript does not do the story justice. You don't have the cadence, you don't have the perspective. Obviously, this woman is Southern, so she has a Southern accent, or she portrays her grandma in a Southern accent when she's talking. So there's a lot of things here that, like, just taking the transcript or reading it are not good. Obviously, listening to it is a much better experience. But I wanted to see what AI could do, wrapping it in a prompt that would switch the perspective to third person, add a lyrical prose like we talked about, to see what will happen. So let's read this version. I wonder if we read the notes first. Okay, so it says architected narrative arc. Shoot, I'm not on. I need to share my screen. Layout. Do that. Okay. Oh, we got that out of the way. All right. The phone was warm against her ear. Her grandmother's voice came through soft, almost careful. And Amina, 35 now, married, standing in her own kitchen, had built her whole birthday around what came next. The KitchenAid sat boxed on the counter where her mother-in-law had gifted it, that perfect symbol of a Southern woman's domesticity, the kind of thing meant to be admired and envied and never once touched. But Amina wanted to use hers. She wanted her grandmother's hands beside her own, hip to hip, the way they'd always worked, finally learning the cakes. It had taken 3 phone calls. Let me check my schedule. That was so long ago, baby. I don't know that I remember. And now on the third try, this. Now, Mina, her grandmother said, I gotta tell you something. A breath. I know you thought I made those cakes from scratch. Amina waited. But baby, I was using a box mix. She had never known that a childhood could make a sound when it deflated. It could. This was it, because no, not her grandmother. Her grandmother got the eggs directly from the chickens. Her grandmother threshed the wheat herself when she needed flour. When Amina was small, that kitchen had been a magic place. Birthday or holiday or plain old Sunday, all the same. Baby, what kind of cake do you want? Her grandmother would say, and Amina would say chocolate and run right back outside to play, never once staying to watch. She'd only pictured it, her grandmother in there clapping her hands like LeBron at center court, all flour and glitter and abracadabra hands. And when Amina came back inside, there was always a feast: fried chicken, collard greens, biscuits, cake. After, her grandmother would set the leftover chicken aside, slice the cake, wrap each piece in a wax paper, and tape it closed. She'd line an empty shoebox with paper towels, half chicken, half cake, and send one home with every family. An hour into the drive, you'd lift that lid and heaven would sing back to you. Amina had never once thought to ask why. It was just what her grandmother did. That was why, as a grown woman with a dating life going nowhere, she'd gone back to the kitchen. Some of the old Southern women had said maybe it wasn't going well because she couldn't cook, and she resented the implication. She could cook. She could make spaghetti and meatloaf and tuna fish, but was tuna fish cooking? The way to a man's heart was through his stomach, and she wasn't getting there like that. So she stood in her grandmother's kitchen while the old woman clapped, delighted, then turned serious, and they got to work. Collard greens first. No written recipes for any of it, so Amina took the best notes she could. The big leaves soaked in salt water, cut off the stem. Rolled up just right, sliced into 1-inch pieces for the perfect bite. Then, home to her first apartment, to the faux granite countertop she was so proud of to try it alone. She carried tasting dishes back for weeks. A little salty, her grandmother would say, until the day the dish came back empty with no notes at all. Graduated. On through the mac and cheese, the candied yams, the cabbage. Then she met a man. She made him food. Months later, he proposed. Grandmother's magic, it really did work. And now here they were, and her grandmother had used a box mix. They used to call it super moist, the old woman was saying, already typing small batch cake mix North Carolina into a search. The consonants dropping off the ends of her words the way Southern grandparents' words do, leaving Amina to decipher super what? Okay, so again, this is something that in the audio retelling, the video, you can tell she's saying like super moy, super moy, super moy, super moy. That's how she's saying it, super moy. So Amina's like, what are you talking about? So it's hard to convey that, and it looks like the AI. I mean, you could do like super moy, like MO. Super what? You spell it. S-U-P-R-M-O-I-E. And the Shirley didn't make it anymore. Her grandmother was certain. Amina almost laughed. Grandma, Betty Crocker super moist? She could drive into rural America, pull up to any gas station, and it would be sitting right there on the aisle. It would survive the zombie apocalypse. Could Grandma please just come over and bake a cake? She agreed. That's an interesting, it's like telling it from the third person, but this is as if Amina is talking. Could Grandma please? I don't really like that, not gonna lie. They were back in the kitchen, hip to hip. Amina wanted a pineapple cake. She'd found a from-scratch recipe, the closest thing to what she remembered. Her grandmother started remembering too. How you ease the layer gently from the pan, how you poke holes in the middle so the pineapple sauce soaks through just right, how you build a frosting from egg whites. They made a cake that was genuinely delicious and genuinely ugly. The ugly was her thing, not a grandmother thing. Amina had never learned to frost. Which was how, years on at her grandmother's 85th, the whole family came together in a big old beach house. Kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. And Amina was the one who cooked all the food now. Every dish she'd been taught. She slid up beside the old woman. Grandma, what kind of cake do you want? Now, baby, yellow cake, chocolate frosting. You're going to get that cake, Amina said, and it's going to be super moist. She cooked everything else first. The cake was last. Stirring the box mix, she thought maybe her grandmother had only started this for the younger ones, the little kids, not for her. She baked it and broke off a corner to taste. It tasted exactly like her childhood. An older woman at the church had given her grandmother the secret the secret ones. Use the box mix, but make the frosting from scratch. That's how you fool them. And she had a whole family of them, fooled with love. So after the feast, they sat around soaking her in, asking every question they could think of to ask. And Amina asked the one she'd carried since she was small, Grandma, what was the deal with the shoebox, the chicken, and the cake? Why did you do that? Her grandmother said, I did that because it's what my parents did for me. During segregation, in case we took a trip somewhere and there wasn't a safe place to stop, we made food to keep our family safe. She'd done it for her own children during Jim Crow for the same reason, somewhere to eat when the road wouldn't let you stop. And I did it for you grandchildren, she said, because I wanted you to get home safe too. There it was, her grandmother making magic again, taking injustice, taking a painful history, and pouring love into all the places she could get it. The eggs from the chickens, the wheat threshed by hand, none of that had ever been the magic. This was. So when the cousins said they had to leave early, had to head back to work, Amina knew exactly what to do. She took the cake and sliced it. She wrapped each piece in wax paper and taped it closed, hoping that cake and wax paper could somehow be a prayer that her cousins too would make it all the way home. So what I really like about this version, I can see it in my head a little better, and it's just because it feels as though you are listening to it be spoken and told in the first person from the third person by reading it, if that makes sense. Because like the first person perspective was really good, but the transcript wasn't, because it's a transcript. Like you're just reading exactly what they said word for word. It doesn't have cadence, tone, prose. It doesn't have any of those things. But the written third person does have her voice. Like it feels like you're listening to it again, but you're reading it. That's why I encourage everyone to go watch the video. I mean, there's a few lines, there's a few instances where I'm like, this is kind of strange. And I pointed this out when it happened. Could Grandma please just come over and bake a cake? Amina almost laughed. Grandma, like, is Amina talking here? Is this the narrator? Like, I feel like, okay, so this is Amina's inner thoughts. Yeah, I guess, which is strange because we're from the third person, so we're not really looking at her thoughts. I guess I would want like a clarification, like, okay, she thought that. But so let's look at these notes. Texture added, not in the transcripts. Not in the transcript, the phone was warm against her ear. Invented tactile detail, the small beats, a breath, and the pause structure around the confession. Invented pacing, no new fact. Framing the mixture as admired and envied and never once touched. A paraphrase of her own so other people can be jealous of you, not a new claim. Typing into a search as a mechanism of Googling transcripts that she Googles. So I kept it as a search term rather than asserting her location. No events, names, outcomes, or dialogue were invented. Remembered speech is rendered only where a transcript reports it. Spine. A woman returns to grandmother's kitchen, chasing the recipe for childhood magic, learns the cakes were only a box mix and served there was the cooking. It was grandmother returning the danger of segregation to the love you could carry home. Oh, goodness. Yeah, this is really cool. And so almost like I can see it in my head better. This would be like a really cool short film, and you could do it. It would be super easy. You could you can really nail down the shots and nail down. It's super easy to follow, or something like Pixar short film. I could see very easily doing this. It's really I like it. I low key like it a lot, and this is what I think. Again, this is when people say AI slop. There's a ton of it. The ability to make content has gone down significantly, but there will still always be demand for good quality content. And this, in my opinion, is that. And it like, if I had given it the prompt, if I had given it the prompt where write a story where, and then this spine part here, it would have been cheeks bad, horrible. It would have been abysmal, totalitarianly bad. It would have been like if you had mixed onions tortellini, and pumpkin farmers all into one dish and then eating it over Coca-Cola. Not good, okay? Just plain bad. Because there isn't enough context for the AI to do it. But what did we do? What did I do? I used AI to help me with the prompt. I said, "Help me write the prompt for you," and it did. I also was confused with a few things in the prompt, so I asked for clarification on what it meant by a few things so that I could understand. It was educating me on what it was doing, and when I didn't understand, I asked and it gave me a better answer that was more clear. And then we gave it the context of a story that was already engaging, that was already interesting, I was the one that had the most views recently on the Moth's page. And I took that story and I just took the transcript of it and I created a prompt to extract. I extracted the full transcript of that so I didn't have to worry about just logistical details of copying that transcript. So then it rewrote it in the third person. And once it had the context of the story it was creating, of the literary style that it was creating, it actually made something that was good. I think it is. Maybe you guys will be the judge. But yeah, it actually made something that was interesting. It didn't put out AI slop. Because AI slop is AI given no context. Because it's like general average human. And that's bad. Like we want exceptional. So that's it for this video. That's it for this video. If you want to document a story that you have, if you want to document a loved one's story, if you want to tell stories about your loved one, feel free to click the link in the description and we can set up a time to do that. And if you want to be featured on the podcast, the Legacy Story Project podcast, we can do that as well. So, bye.